And welcome to another episode of Who Gives a Who. I'm Luke, got Kyle, and we're joined by a longtime friend of the pod. I think you've graced us just about every season. We may have skipped you last season, but you gave us enough heckling here and there. Marty Cordero, president of Union Omaha and the Omaha Storm Chasers. So welcome, Marty.
Hey Kyle, Luke, how's it going? I'm glad to be here. You won't hear this out of my mouth very often. I'm tired. It's been a long week. It's been a long week.
In all the years I've known you, I don't think I've ever heard you utter that phrase. And you're a man who runs a mile a minute.
It happens. But obviously you guys have been following this club since May 1st of 2019, even before that when there were rumblings. But today was as good a day as we've had. I would call it a top 5 Union in Omaha day, and people would say, well, what's better? Well, winning the championship in 21 was pretty cool. Announcing the franchise in 19 and then revealing the crest later in 2019. Those are 3 cool days. Beating Chicago, beating Minnesota. I mean, you could go down the list, right? And
yeah.
So, but today's a definite top 5, and somewhere 3, 4, 5, and one of my biggest takeaways from today is really how genuinely excited that we believe Mayor Gene Stothert and the city of Omaha have become for this project. And it wasn't overnight. It's been 2 years, almost 2 years to the day, actually, since we first met with them. And it has been an education. And I really think the future growth of pro soccer, and whether it's Union Omaha or future women's team or whatever it may be, I learned over the last 2 years that we still have to educate the larger metro area on what soccer is going to become or can become, and then what it can do through any number of education, community, philanthropic, arts, entertainment, whatever you want to say, avenues. So I learned a lot. I did, and today I really felt like we're at a point now where we're partners with the city, or we're as close as we have been, and I can't wait until the next step. There are a number of hurdles. I caution people. This was a big moment today. It was big. There's no doubt about it. But as heavy lifting as the last almost 3 years, because we started our feasibility study in April of 21, as hard as the almost last 3 years have been, the next 2 years and 3 months or 4 months are going to be even more hard, more difficult. And that's not to discourage anyone, but it's really, quite frankly, to encourage and ask for more people to get on the Owls bandwagon.
Well, I've been joking around with friends who've been asking, "Oh, so how excited are you?" And like, I'll be excited when shovel hits dirt.
There's a lot of truth in that. There's a lot of truth in that for a lot of reasons.
But before I jump in there is a very important question from fan of the pod, fan of Union Omaha. With the first home game of the 2024 season being April 20th, the question related to a theme night, whether it was going to be a dead night. Knowing that you are a drummer in a jam band who may or may not cover the Grateful Dead, has that been considered?
We've looked at a dead night. We've looked at 3/11 night. We looked at starting the game at 4:20 on 4:20. We have, trust me, we've run the gambit.
All right.
related to what we can and can't do. It's the home opener. We will do some things that are special. It's interesting that you bring it up, because we do shy away a little bit when you talk about March and when you talk about April, related to whether it's Union or OSC, Storm Chasers baseball. I wouldn't say wasting promotions, but we know the weather could actually be just like today. Basically 40 degrees and damp and cool. And
We've
do
had
we
worse
really?
days.
Yeah, we have, absolutely. I mean,
It,
look
it
at
is it
the
is
look.
beautiful compared to the
Yes,
past week.
it is. It's all relative. You're right, Kyle. But I mean, you go back to the semifinals in 21 when we played in 33 degrees and sleet and hail the entire game, or the first two home matches that were moved to UNO this past. I mean, we could go on with bad weather. So I'll be honest with you, something that we think that could draw, like many of those that I mentioned, you'll probably see those in June, July, August, just from the standpoint of reaching, reaching full potential on a promotion, if that makes any sense. And you
No,
could also argue the other side, but you should try something that's really great in those months, and maybe it will help you draw. No, not really. We kind of know what the business is going to be. There's going to be core, whether it's baseball or
yeah.
soccer. We know kind of what the core fan base is going to be that are going to come out, and those are the sport fans when it's early in the season.
Mm-hmm. So the breaking news here is Marty doesn't want cold hands while he's drumming. Okay.
Yes,
That's
true.
the most important thing we're going to get out of you tonight.
That's true.
I was at the press conference today. I think by the time anybody's listened to this, they've read every bit of news that is available publicly. You mentioned Union Omaha moving up to championship, an academy, obviously the stadium. But I think the thing that is hitting a very different demographic than what you've really been targeting in the past is the women's team. And it's obviously very vague. This is still something that is very much in the works. As I've phrased, shovel hasn't hit dirt, nothing. Until that happens, we're still in a bit of flux. But with the plan for said women's team, is it to move into whereas USL now has the USLW, which is a semi-pro amateur league, or USL Super League, or as we have the other top flight women's league in the country, the NWSL. The women's game is growing internationally. It's massive. The skill level is fantastic. Bringing top flight soccer to Omaha is, I know, probably one of your goals, probably one of Gary's goals. But where do you think that women's team would be playing? Or what tier?
Well, yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that we've volleyed quite a while. I would tell you, we're USL partners, so that kind of narrows us to either W or Super, which is fine. Either is fine. We have looked at the NWSL model, and that's probably not something that we would step outside of the USL family to do, but we've looked at it. And then related to W and Super, there are pros and cons of both. We have we live in a state, and we've talked about this. We live in an amateur state for the most part, and that supports amateur sports. And I did reference earlier today the success of the Supernovas last night. Although one match doesn't make a season, doesn't make multiple years doesn't make a franchise, and I
Very
hope
much.
that the rest of the Pro Volleyball League is at least average, because it won't matter how successful Omaha is in that. If anyone remembers the original UFL and the Nighthawks, that went very well here locally, at least for that year. I happen to believe it was because the last year Rosenblatt, not because it was pro football, but that's my professional sports opinion. However, it didn't matter how good or bad the franchise did economically and business wise, because the rest of the league, they were not good business operators. So that's what's going to happen there. And so when we take a look at what our opportunities are, we're going to look at that, whether it's NWSL, whether it's Super League, whether it's W, and we're going to look at what the other markets are. And it's not just solely going to be about Omaha. However, look, amateur W sports team, W women's team, I think could be successful, and that would be late May and play until July. That's the core. That's the great weather time of our year. But then again, Super League, you're talking about top tier Division I women's pro soccer at a higher level, higher caliber. When right now, soccer is a silver bullet. Again, a lot of pros there. So That's where we're thinking. If you cornered Gary, you'd probably get a different answer than mine. But we definitely are considering both because there are benefits and pros and cons on both. And one of the cons, if you will, um, for the Super League is the fact that it's a European calendar. So you're talking about August, September, October, November, early December, and then whatever the break hiatus is, and then you're coming back in February, March, April, May. Well, the three of us know you can't play soccer here in February. You can't. So we lose
I'm still
that
thawing
month.
out my fingers.
Yes, you can't play in February. It probably isn't wise business wise to play in December. So is a 90-day break or halftime, whatever you want to call it, good? Possibly. I mean, maybe it is. So that's how we've looked at it. That's how we've analyzed it. We've looked at it, and what can we do in design? Can you heat the field? Yes, but there's a cost to that. And then if you heat the field, do we not? Are we not able to put something else into the stadium that we would rather have without putting heat in the field? So those are the conversations we're having early on about programming in the stadium as well.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's also, I mean there are a lot of Southern teams at least that are on the docket for the Super League. So I didn't know if there was a thought of, just like front loading and end loading a schedule if it was a Super League team.
Well, the answer is we'd love to do that, but
mm,
we have league partners, we have league mates, and the league ultimately would make the schedule. I would tell you if history has shown us that we would probably have success because if you look, our schedule this year is more like our schedule in 2021, 22,
mhm.
unlike 23. Last year we had some challenges with our schedule that we self-created, and that's why our season started so early. We have self-corrected, and we're not starting until April 20th. We would love something like that, with the women's team, but we'll see. We first things first, as
Yep.
Luke said, shovel in ground. That's first things first.
Yeah, and then I guess just one more point. I know Luke might have another question too, but with the is there a thought of with the USLW just being in the summer, there a thought of maybe starting up that first and then making a decision to move up to S or not? Kind of like
It,
USL2 teams doing similar?
we've talked about it. We've
Okay.
even had conversation about doing that in advance of the stadium starting in a different location. That's a lot to bite off when you talk about, you've got some baseball only staff, some soccer only staff, but the vast majority of what we do is a combined, joint team effort. Um, but yes, we've considered that, and would that be UNO or Creighton? Yeah, it would probably be. We would need to have conversations with them. We have not, but it is a model we've looked at. We've looked at models depending on when the stadium would be built downtown. Let's say we weren't able to get a stadium deal done until 29 or 30 for whatever reason. Would there be some bridge years we would play downtown? Maybe. So again, just giving you a little insight on what we've looked at, what we've discussed internally on both the men and the women's side.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Marty, the players get an off season, but you definitely don't.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
I mean, to that off season, there have been some serious shakeups with the Union Omaha structure. Obviously, Peter Marlette Jr. left the team, leaving the GM position open. And I joked with you earlier at the press conference. You're finally established enough you could make a local hire, and you brought on Alexis.
Yeah.
What do you think she's going to bring to Union Omaha and to this growing project that is essentially Alliance Sports Omaha as her role here?
Yeah, first off, to talk about Peter, Peter did a great job. Worked with us for almost 3 years, 3 seasons. Obviously, put together great clubs along with Coach Mims and then Coach Casciato. He's actually working with us still right now behind the scenes to make sure we've got a great product on the field. But that's just in a consulting basis related to Peter. But he went out the right way. He let us know early on. I think it was August, and he worked all the way through the playoffs. Unfortunately, one game less than we all anticipated. But Peter left us in a much better spot on the sporting side, and contributed a lot of things on the business side as well. But from an Alexis perspective, she brings depth of knowledge and depth of relationships in the market. She does. You mentioned hiring somebody local, and we talked earlier. That's very unusual. It's normally someone coming from outside a market when you're hiring at a VP or higher role. A lot of times, unless you're promoting from within, and we looked at that, but no one that really fit what we needed. And you never have a perfect candidate, but if you look at the contacts and you look at the experiences and you look at the roots that Alexis Boulos has in the community, deeper than mine in a lot of ways, because she's from here. She checks a lot of boxes. She brings a lot of energy. It was a heck of a week for her to start. The players are starting to move into apartments and dealing with contract challenges and apartment challenges. And training's about to start. And then, oh, by the way, we're gonna have a presser win in 3 days. Her first day was Tuesday, so today was day 3 on the job. So, we'll get her properly introduced. It'd be great if you hosted her here in the next month or two after she gets her feet on the ground. And I know some of the supporter groups want to host a get together for her as well. But excited to have her. But we just lost a couple of other members. Morgan Hobbs and Drita Coma. Drita was hired by the NWSL team to run their video operations. I guess that's in out in Carolina. Is that North Carolina? Somewhere. I'm not sure exactly which market. So that was a huge step up for her. Of course, we wish her well. And then Morgan Hobbs was hired by San Antonio, the championship league squad, to run their communication. So you're seeing, again, folks from here, folks from Union Omaha go on to I wouldn't call it better jobs, but bigger for sure in higher profile clubs, and that's what we want. Just like we want it for our players, we want it for our staff as well.
Well, I mean, Marty, I'm sure you've seen contributor to our blog, Rich Fleming, jump to Tormenta, going from the amateur to the pro. So we're familiar with this pain.
DVT, Darren Van Tassel, a good friend. He hired a good one in Rich. Yeah, I'm happy for Rich, and it's good. It's a good move for him.
We're thrilled with that move for Rich, because honestly, anytime that Omaha can provide a better product than somebody else can find locally, we're always proud of that.
Yep, absolutely.
A couple questions directly stadium related. We're looking at a 26 start. It was mentioned in the press release, in the presser, that there's the opportunity to host international teams there. What is the feasibility there? Omaha also this week announced almost $1 billion to upgrade the airport facilities. There's a lot going down by the river, which it speaks volumes to Union Omaha's commitment there. But bringing that international play, it's always been teased there'd be exhibition matches with international teams that just didn't happen because of COVID or whatever other reasons. But hosting an international squad at our facility, training in Omaha, bringing those tax dollars, the spending dollars to the community. How big of a push is that for the team, for Alliance Sports?
Yeah, for World Cup, it's something we're looking into to see what that would be. And obviously, hosting for 4 to 6 weeks or 3 to 5 weeks, whatever it would be much different than just hosting friendlies. But I would tell you, we've been working on a friendly for 4 years, and I'll say this: we're very close on a deal for this year, not just for when we open a new facility, but we're very close on a deal for this year with
the shovel
for a
in
friendly.
dirt.
The shovel is in the dirt for a friendly this summer. Yes, it is. And we hope to, within, we'll call it 4 weeks, we hope to have an answer on that. And obviously, if it's in the affirmative, we'll be making an announcement on what the date will be. And uh, that would be kind of the first step for us as we jump into that international. The challenge has been, quite honestly, the UO and the OSC schedule, and it just has not worked the previous 4 years. We've got a couple dates that may work this July, and we're excited. We're excited about it, but we're not all the way there yet. Still a little bit of work to be done.
I mean, that's fantastic to hear. Seeing Union Omaha face off against international competitors, I think, is everyone's dream. As horrific as it was earlier this year when MLS said they weren't going to put their first teams into the Open Cup, which they quickly rescinded when they found out that nobody liked them for that. It was slightly exciting that it just made the path to international play easier for Union Omaha.
Yeah.
Getting that CONCACAF spot, but pulling it to a little bit more of the surrounding of the stadium. Will Union Omaha or Alliance Sports be managing the mixed use development that surrounds the area, or will that be going through a separate management company?
Yeah, that would be
following up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Will there be pressure from Union Omaha to try and avoid outside businesses and try and get local companies in there that would better cater to the needs of the fans of Union Omaha and women's team and the 150 other events that you're planning annually?
There's a lot there. I'll try to be brief.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I got to roll in here a few minutes. But
Yep.
The first answer is we're not sure of the ownership structure of the stadium yet. Will it be Alliance Sports owning it and just wholly managing it? Will there be a stadium authority with a quasi board, kind of like the way Mecca operates? Will we create that? We're not sure yet. So it's hard for me to answer that the management of the stadium isn't going to be Union Omaha or a different entity. What I would say is it would probably be Union Omaha or Alliance Sports and not a stadium authority. I think that's probably the way it's going to be. Much like we don't own but operate Warner Park, we're able to control our dates, not have to worry about outside impact, and it's quite frankly the reason why Pro Soccer was able to come to the Metro, because we controlled all the dates, we controlled the venue. So that's the first answer. The second answer, I'd say we always want to look local. I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the ancillary food vendors at Warner Park alone, I mean, whether it's Papillion Taco guy, the snow cone guy, the funnel cakes, the Papio Pit barbecue, the beer collaboration with Buho Brew and Pint Nine, and then Ale Storm for Nebraska Brewing Company. We're always, even our ice cream stand is Highland Dairy, which is local. So, we're always going to look at that first. But what I would also say is we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves and say we're going to be 100% local. If there are national brands or regional brands or chains, if you will, that have exuded collaboration in other markets and have supported, quite frankly, sports, arts, and entertainment in ways that have been advantageous and successful, then we would be short-sighted to not consider them. But of course, we're going to look local first, and then we would look at regional and national second and third. No, we're not going to pigeonhole ourselves into only being local and then looking at a development that may be 60 or 70% full. But we're also not just going to go out and just fill it up with every TGI Friday, type business that wants to be there.
You need more bling, Marty. You need more bling.
Yes.
But thanks for taking the time today. I know it's been a very busy schedule. It's fantastic to see Union Omaha moving forward. And I know you have been integral in making this happen. So from all of us here at the pod, thank you.
Thank you so much.
We really are looking forward to everything Union Omaha can continue to bring to the Metro.
Well, you're kind. It's 28 years of work, and a lot of times it is work, but most of the time it's just a passion. And soccer is another step along the way for me. And I appreciate the support you've given the franchise. And we're excited. We're excited about tomorrow. We're excited about next week, and excited about the years to come. But appreciate the support you guys give the players as well. It's going to be a new squad, and I can't wait for you to have Dominic on and talk about it. And we've got some players we haven't announced yet, and we were kind of silent. We have been silent this week on player announcements for proper
Wonder why.
reason. We had Alexis, and then we had this little news we had today. But I would just say the next couple of weeks are going to be exciting on the player front. I'll leave the pot on that.
I mean, we didn't even ask, but you put it forward, so we're looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us, Marty.
Yep. Have a good evening, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
You too.
bye-bye.
Thanks, Marty, for joining us. Sounds like we've got a busy couple of weeks coming up here with some players. I know that's been something.
Oh, yeah.
Has been a topic of much angst. I think angst is probably an accurate term amongst fans.
I think so. Yeah.
You see other teams announcing players left and right, and
People being
they're not
worried about
announcing
Lexington.
stadiums.
Yeah, that's true. People being worried about Lexington or Madison taking all of our 2021 team, and
Yeah. I mean, those who can't do teach, and those who can't teach join Madison. But we have had a few signings.
I will say
I think
currently we're at 11 players. Exactly
We are
11
at
players.
And one of them is a return. He didn't even leave us for another League One team. He left us for MLS 2 with what was that? Colorado Rapids 2. Blake Malone.
Oh yeah, I think he did do that. Yeah.
He's he's an Omaha boy.
He's
Didn't
back.
feature a whole lot in 21. But
yeah, I think he would be brought on late in a couple of games to kind of be an extra defender, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, and he was very young then. He was coming off of a loan, or Orange County had loaned him out. He was still on contract with them and joined us. And he showed a lot of potential. Has had 2 fantastic seasons with the Rapids, and coming in to help solidify our defense, which we kept some key defenders.
I'll say this: looking at my notes on him, he did play 13 games for us, which is more than I thought, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean we had a lot of games that season too, because that was we won the league. He came on late in a number of games. He had some starts. We had some injuries that season, but he was a solid defender, and I'm thrilled to see him back. I think he's going to bring a lot to the team.
Yeah, especially, I mean, again, we probably have some more signings we might hear about next week, but for now, we have him, we have Luca, we have Marco, and we have Anderson, another young player. So I'm curious what that would look like if it was just those 4 right now. But I also don't want to speculate too much, because knowing that there's probably more people coming. So,
well, I mean, Marty gave us the heads up that we've got more players incoming, and it sounded like they're going to be coming, quick and fast. So we could be seeing a pretty full roster here quickly.
I believe technically don't contracts start the 1st of February?
Well, he mentioned Alexis was already moving players into apartments. If you follow returning players' Instagrams, it seems like Luca and Pedro are back in the Metro, already checking out Coneflower. So, there's definitely some opportunities there for guys already being in town that you may see there that already on contracts, but you just haven't seen them announced.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in, first year pro, if I'm correct.
First year pro from Marshall, which is our third player from Marshall.
Yep. We have Ilal and Pedro. It doesn't seem like him and Pedro overlapped. Based on Ilal's reactions when he left the team, was training with Marshall, may have interacted with him. So
okay.
Marshall's a fantastic program. That's a great get from what I was seeing. Rich has for all of the new signings so far. Rich has some fantastic write-ups on the blog at wghmedia.com. But putting Union Omaha lists him as a winger, if I'm correct.
Dom called him a talented young winger. And specifically talking about his creativity as well.
Well, I mean, that's something where with the players that have left, some of our seasoned players, guys who ran out their contracts, is something we definitely need. We've got the veteran core more or less in our attack. Putting on a winger who can be creative, feed the ball in, and put us into some great spots. With you got Gallardo out there who equally creative. We have an attack that I think any team in the league should still be worried about.
Yeah, he definitely seems like potentially if we are playing either two up top or what we were playing at the end of last season with the kind of the two attacking wingers on either side, he really seems like he would fit into that system if that's the system that Dom is trying to pull players for.
Well, Dom's system worked very well for us last year when it finally clicked. With Spokane coming in, making some big signings, Luis Gil being one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, Lexington is scary, to say the least. We've got some challenging new teams out there for us to compete against. But I think worried about him at the start of last season. I continually mentioned I hit the panic button way too early.
Mm-hmm.
We end up winning the league. I think he has a good handle on what is expected in this league and has the knowledge base to bring on the right players to really make that work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, and I hope that we'll start to see that. I would not be surprised if that's a next Tuesday thing. Knowing the team, I would expect maybe that is when that happens.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's almost blasphemous that the stadium moving forward wasn't announced on a Tuesday. I think this Thursday, the 25th of January, is an honorary Tuesday.
I'll go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an honorary Tuesday. Arguably the biggest signing, just because not only his history in the league, but his youth history is Norte coming out of Northern Colorado. Another international player joining the roster, but seems like he could slide into that now very, very noticeably vacant. Very vacant. Like we do not have anybody there.
JP gone. Giovanni gone. Connor so
hasn't announced anywhere, but
so who knows?
God. Yeah.
but at least not listed on the roster. So
Yeah.
there's definitely a spot that needs filling.
Yeah. I had some solid performances at Northern Colorado. I don't know if we just offered more cash or things in Northern Colorado are less than ideal. Based on
Well,
Para's tweets,
I was gonna
maybe.
say based on those tweets, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No, I think we're sitting with a very good 11 players on the roster right now.
I guess it technically might be 12 because they actually don't have Norty on the roster page yet, it seems.
Okay.
So I think we technically have 12.
Not gonna argue with one
Yeah.
on the bench. No, that allows us one injury at a time.
Woo!
No long-term injuries.
Shido, please don't have it be you that's injured.
Well, that does leave us with something of, I mean, JP's gone, Dalton Connor's, we don't know where he's at,
Yeah.
but nobody besides,
Well, Shido's the only one left now from
the original squad.
Original season, yeah. Not to mention the championship season if we don't see Connor back. So yeah.
So that's the captaincy is something I think is going to be huge this year, and getting a personality. And I think Shido, to me, would be a great personality to take that armband. I know there are a lot of people who don't love a goalkeeper captain, and maybe it's my Bayern fandom that really likes that keeper captain. But from season 1, where he's punching Northern Texas players, to where he was at last year as one of the most calm and composed players on the field, I really see amazing growth of him as a player. His skills have just gotten better as he's been challenged by his second string keepers more and more. But I think it's time for him. I think it's time for Shido to take that armband.
I mean, I would definitely agree. Just if they're, because I'm thinking too, I'm like, if the argument is to not have a keeper take it, I'm trying to think who else would. So my two picks, just looking through the roster here quick, unless you want to give it to a new player, which I could maybe see an argument for, right? Because Tom specifically talks up Norty having been like a captain and a leader. But I could see either like Dion, depending on how much playing time he's getting, or like Pedro. Those would be my other options, I'd think. But I still think Shido is probably, your first choice, unless there's some other, reason like you want a field player to have it instead.
Well, Dion has worn the armband for us before. He's a solid leader on the pitch. He's a veteran. And I think he's a strong contender, but I think this is Shido's year. Like I just really think that he's given everything to this club. He's a top-notch keeper that should be competing at a much higher level than where he's at. And in the US, I'm pretty sure it's just the green card holding him back, the international roster slot.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'll say this with the little announcement of, hey, if we get the stadium in 2026, we're gonna try and move to the championship. He's got a path.
It wasn't even a try.
That's true. That's true. It's just what we're doing.
I mean, anyone can go. I believe the league or the team has put out the much better version of recording of the press conference. If you don't want to go search for that, our Instagram has it.
Yeah, their YouTube, I believe, has it.
Yeah, but it was Marty and Gary saying we are planning for the 26th season in the championship. Like that is huge. So 2 seasons in USL League One, and provided the stadium breaks ground, shovel hits dirt, we'll see Omaha in the second tier of US soccer in 2026.
I mean, which honestly, market size, we probably should be.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of it on a purely market size basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and just think about giving that opportunity then for players like Shido, if he does, stick with us, that not just this year, but then next year, which could be the last in League One, right? Like, and moving with us, that would be a really great story, and I'd love to keep him around. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, there's so much opportunity for the players who, and maybe we see some returners guys who moved up, liked it in Omaha, but wanted the next step.
Like an Evan Conway, who moved all the way over to North Carolina, who just came up as well. Or Shaft, who moved to North Carolina too.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of players who, aren't necessarily ready for the first tier, may never be ready for the first tier, but are consistent second tier players that in Omaha move to the championship might draw them back. So things to look forward to. We didn't know the news when we invited Marty on. So I'm not jumping to the Twitter questions because sorry everybody who put questions on Twitter. We didn't know what was happening today. But upcoming things. Parliament is hosting a Q&A meet and greet with Coach Dom on Saturday at Pint 9. Is that correct?
Pint 9. Don't know if it's in the front or in the back. I don't have those details, but it should be between, I believe, 3 to 5.
Okay.
Double check that.
I think plan on throwing, or if you're going to show up there, show up at 3. Dom will have the player questions answered better than anything we can. So I will try to have that recorded. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be able to make it, but if we can, we'll try and live stream it on the Instagram. So if you aren't subscribed to our Instagram, WGAH Media, do it. We live stream things. That's about all we do on there, but it's a good platform for it. Anything you've got to bring up right now, or?
I don't think so. Just, it is an exciting day, like Marty was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It really is one of those kind of in the top 5 moments of the club, and just hoping the timeline happens.
Yes. The timeline lists city council meeting midsummer to approve it, break ground fall 24, first game May 26. So it seems a doable timeline based on the model they're going for, but there are a number of ways you can reach out to support the project. They are looking for support in the unicameral. I don't live in Nebraska. I don't know what bills they are.
I believe, oh geez, I'm looking quickly on here, but I might not find it in time. I believe it's LB 622 and LB 623. But yeah, LB 622 and LB 623 are the ones.
So if you are a Nebraska resident or member of a super PAC, reach out to,
or even just a normal PAC.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't have to be a super PAC, just like any sort of PAC. I mean, it could be, Boy Scout. Well, no, that's a troop. Cub Scout pack. Like, yeah, just reach out. Reach out to members of your unicameral. Urge them to support this. It will be massive for development in the metro, as well as, as a transplant to the metro. These are the sort of things that you look for when you're trying to move to a place. This really would be huge in drawing talent, retaining talent in Omaha. So try if you can to get a hold of your senator's ears and tell them to support these bills on the unicameral floor. On that note, one last question. Do you remember how this goes? It's been a little bit of a hiatus.
It has been a little bit of a little bit of time, yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Who gives a hoot?
We do.